Greetings Internet and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. In this episode I'll be continuing my campaign for Moscow, Strike and Counterstrike by SPI, dated 1972. And this will be turn 4 of the first scenario, which is 8 turns long. So let's go down to the map and see what's going on. So in the first 3 turns, the Germans have started an offensive that started from pretty much here, and they have driven all the way to within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hexes of Moscow. Create a couple of pockets, and the losses have been heavy for the Soviets, but not catastrophic. The Soviets have managed to maintain a front line, be it with some rail units towards the bottom of the map here, but it's still intact. The Germans, however, are now running to the end of their supply chain. This hex here is a supply head. This hex here is the rail conversion at the present moment, and they can supply up to 12 hexes beyond said units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, pretty much there is the extent of the supply. Anything beyond that green cube, so these units, are all out of supply. I've just placed a green cube all the way along the front from each of those rail conversion units, and that is the extent of this turn's current supply lines or path. Anything beyond those, the Germans will be out of supply. So up north here, that doesn't really matter because the Germans aren't there yet. But as we see in the south here, it definitely is a concern of where anything beyond which the Germans are out of supply. The white cubes, this one and this one, are showing where by the end of the scenario, each of those rail conversion units will be on the rail line that they're converting. So we've got, because we're in turn 4, so this will be 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, yeah. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes. Just remove the northern one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to there. So again, the green cubes will advance correspondingly 5 more hexes this way. But you can see that any attack on Moscow will be out of supply in this scenario. And Moscow does count for 50 victory points, the side that's holding it. So any drive on Moscow to get those victory points will require the Germans to do it out of supply. The effects of being out of supply is your movement's halved, your attack and defense strength are halved. Interestingly, I have gone through the rules again. The effects of mud and the weather will also halve movement. Well, movement is actually down to 1 hex. Rain is half movement. Combat for the Germans is also halved. I've checked. The effects of movement penalties are cumulative. It doesn't say so for combat. So I'm assuming, and it's an assumption, that the rules are implicit if they mention that units are out of supply and their combat strengths are halved and the weather makes them halved. It's not cumulative because it doesn't say in the rules that they are. So you're halved once for combat, but you're halved multiple times for movement because it does mention the effects of supply and weather on movement. With that in mind, let's continue this turn. We've got the German movement, German combat, German mechanized, and then they've got the Russian or Soviet, whichever you prefer, movement and combat, the Soviets don't have a mechanized phase. And this is turn 4, so this will be the last turn. This is what the blue cube is. The blue cube is an aid memoir for me to remind me that the Germans do attack at an extra column shift in their favour on the first 4 turns. And by now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love using these little cubes as aid memoirs. So as a guide on strategy, what is now the Germans' best option? Remember, any attack here now will be out of supply and therefore at half strength. There are a couple of, there's a pocket here where the Soviet units are half strength, so they'll be fairly easy to take out, but attacking here now, well, the strengths will be at full, being attacked by half. And I can't see any need to attack down here. I think the attack must be focused as much as possible on Moscow to also maximize Soviet losses. The units here and here, these are disrupted from the previous turn. They can't move and they can't combat, and they'll be reflipped over at the end of the turn. And yes, I've got a slight sore throat. If you're hearing it's like in there, I hopefully won't lose my voice through the course of making this. Otherwise, it'll be the Germans and the Russians will be fighting in silence, or that's right, you little croaks, as we continue. But at the present moment, it's holding on well. Lemsip helps. And as I mentioned before, I cannot see any need for the German infantry to mount an attack up along this line, just to keep the pressure up, stay adjacent, slow the Russians down from stripping units from the front down to here, because the combat results table is vicious. Even at 5-1, the best result is an exchange. 6-1 is the first time you start to see defender eliminated, and there's just no way these infantry can amount a 6-1 attack. So doing a 5-1 as an exchange, it's losses that count, and we're almost needing a 4-1 loss ratio to get into the bounds of a German victory. So an exchange result helps the Soviets every time. The only other benefit of maybe doing it is, at the end of the day, each Soviet unit lost is a Soviet unit out the front line, and they're running a bit thin, in the sense that they started with something like 80 odd. I'm just double checking. Yeah, 82 of these 1-4 infantry divisions, and they've lost 39 of them already. So that's nearly 50% loss rate. Which they've been, all right, they've gained a few back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 back so far. They're going to get some more as the game progresses. So the losses have been heavy, but it's the loss ratio in combat points is the critical thing. So anyway, let's focus on what's going on in the south here. And yeah, sorry about the alien incursion of the light, but hey, winter recording at night, hey, what we're going to get. So let's zoom in, not zoom out, and we'll start with some of this infantry movement at the back here, because obviously it's got to get to the front. Germans have no rail movement capability, and we need to present a continuous front line as well. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Max 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, I'm going to do these to the side as well to remind me who has moved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The infantry are just too slow to keep up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just a reminder that I can't move these guys, so we'll mark them as they have moved. So I'm going to try and keep a continuous front till about here with the infantry, so that gives the armour the freedom to carry on forward. Because the other thing is, this pocket can only be dealt with armour or mechanised infantry. There is no infantry that's managed to keep up. The closest infantry we have to that pocket, and therefore also the continued push onto Moscow, are the units here and here. So this is going to be a completely motorised, mechanised, armoured thrust to Moscow with little or no infantry support. So we know this unit here, it's got 3, half of 3 is 1.5. We need therefore 16 combat factors to equal the overrun. However, they're at half strength. So it's actually 32 combat factors required to overrun that hex. Because there's the limited supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so that limit of supply goes all the way down along that line there. So anything we do here is at half strength. However, we need to get rid of these so we can actually push on. So we need 32 armoured combat factors. And remember that it costs 3 movements to enter a zone of control. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want to free up as much as we can back here. So we need 32 combat factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So there's another 6 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think I just cheated on that first one, which started there. To remember, supply is determined at the beginning of movement. So if they start in supply, they are supplied throughout the movement phase. So they can move out of supply. So this guy here, I moved around there, is starting out of supply. He only has 4 movements. So when I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, can't do that. So that's why I took him back. This unit here, which is starting in supply, he can, but when it comes to the moment, that's interesting. Overrun is a function of movement. So this unit here is worth 6 for the overrun because he started in supply. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 also counts as that's 6. This isn't useful. 6, 7, 8, 9. He's just in supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's just in supply. Okay. Yes, manipulating the system as best as possible. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 1, 2, plus another 6. 9 plus 6 is 15. We need one more factor to then count that as an overrun. So we'll take this armoured unit here, 1, 2, to go into that hex. So we remove that at the moment. That gives me 17 movement points. That is in 17 combat factors, because they are and started in supply. That overruns that hex. Okay. Now this has got a defense of 2. Hard, because it's out of supply, because it's out of control. Therefore it's got a defense of 1. So therefore we need 11 to overrun it. But we're now running low on actually supplied German armour. Okay. we can move through that now because it's got no zone of control. So that would be, if this unit did it, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you 2 hexes moving adjacent to an enemy unit, can't do it. Adjacent already, we have 5, 6, well, effectively 2.5 plus 1.5, but so 5, 6, 7, 8 halved is 4. We need 11. So that would be 4. Plus another 1, 2. These are in supply. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because they started in supply. 8. We need 11. 8. I don't think we're going to be able to overrun that hex. 8, 9, 10. Yes, we will. With both of those. That's another 7. Halved is 3.5. Plus 8 is 11. 11 to 1 by pretty much everything I've got. They are overrun. So that means in the combat phase, sorry, at the end of the movement phase, they will attack that unit and then be able to move 1 hex forward from the result. So that leaves quite a few bits of armor down here. But remember now, these are out of supply. So they can only move half their movement rate. And it costs 3 movement points to move adjacent to an enemy unit. That means in most cases, this armor are not going to be able to attack up here. However, if we move adjacent to these units, they'll be able to advance after combat, after the overrun, and then still engage. So we need to move in, because there's no zones of control here anymore. So this armored unit here, for example, could go 1. No, it couldn't. Yeah, it could go 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can go adjacent to those, ready for the combat phase. 1. Over here, none of these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've only got half their movement value because they're out of supply. But if we put them here, they can be classed as the part of the overrun and then move 1 hex. So we can actually put them in to help here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't go into there because there's a zone of control. That would cross another 3 movement points. Dear oh dear, this is not good. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. 4. Can't go in. They're running out of juice, Captain. We have no fuel. So the best we can do is get maximum around these units to get maximum from the overrun. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't go into that hex with these guys. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 3. think maybe, you see, that's the thing, these guys are hard on defense as well, so quite good targets for potential Soviet counterattack. So let's just put him in there, protect him. So when we do the overruns, we'll have everything adjacent attacking in the overrun. That means they can all move 1 hex after, and it doesn't have to be into the hex that these units are in. But not ideal. Okay. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four, five. Get as much infantry up as we can. We also want to maintain this continuous front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The continuous front can be maintained by zones of control as well as units. Again, we also want to engage as much as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moving in. And attack as much as possible. Remember, it's 3 to enter zone control, so that'll be 1, 2, 3. Can't do it. So the best they can engage is these units here. So I think if we can engage this front line, they go into there. 1, 2 into there. Then we've got 1, 2. Good as it gets, guys. One, two. One, two, three, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Let's move the EBs up 1 hex. Right. As I say, I'm not going to engage to attack here. We've breached the fortification. We just want to keep adjacent to the Soviets so they can't run off quickly. What do I mean by quickly? Getting onto the rail lines and being able to reinforce where we're still trying to maintain a punch. But due to supply restrictions, the Germans don't really have much punch left whatsoever. I'm just moving right at the north of the map there. Just for the sake of tidiness, I will advance that one there. Boom. And keep the we're going to have a continuous line. Under control, yeah, that's it. Okay, so that's the German movement phase. So now we resolve the overruns. Before we move on to combat. So we know this is 11 to 1. Where's my dice tower? There it is. Come on. Right. So there we go. So the first one, 11 to 1 by all those surrounding units there. With a 5, they're gone. Defender eliminated. And that means every unit can move 1 hex. Alright, well they might as well move into there. They might as well move into there. Alright, so attacking this stack would be that, no, that one, and that one into there. Again, 11 to 1. Again, defender eliminated. Okay, so that's 5 units taken out. Now, we can now move those all 1 hex. And it doesn't have to be into there. So they're going to move into there. They're going to move into there. They're going to move into there. Not great, but that's what happens when you're out of juice. So we now go into the combat phase. Not many of these turn, so we're going to take this on, and that's got a defense of 1, 2, 3 at full strength. And remember, we're attacking at half strength, so we've got 4, 5, 6 plus 6 is 12 plus 4 16, 17, 18, 19. So that would be 8, 19. So half of 19 is 9. 9 to 3. That's only 3 to 1. 4 to 1. Best result we can get is defender retreat, so that's no good. Plus another 19, plus another 8, plus another 5. So 19 plus 10 is 29. 32. 32 is 16 to 3. That's 5 to 1, which with the air support is 6 to 1. So all that armour, the maximum we can get is a 6 to 1 attack. And 6 to 1, alright, a 5 or a 6 is the DE, but it's also got the dreaded AD. They'll be disrupted next turn. And we can't even overrun them in the mechanised movement phase. Darn it, supply doesn't outstrip the teeth, doesn't it? Well, I think the drive on Moscow, because I can't, you know, here at 6 to 1. It's 5 to 1 becomes 6 to 1. Yeah, 6 to 1 we can get defender retreats, exchanges. Exchange would be catastrophic. However, it would create a gap. I think we're going to have to risk it for a biscuit. Okay. 6 to 1 with a 6. So the best result at 6 to 1 is defender eliminated, attacker disrupted. Okay, so that's 3 points. So we can disrupt 3 points worth of. So that's 1. Do we have a 3-8 floating around? There we go. He's disrupted. And then we can advance after combat. Well, the mighty Wehrmacht, and that's what they could do. So the actual advance from this turn, you know, if you think for 2 turns they've advanced from here to here in the first 3 turns. In this 4th turn, they've advanced there. And that's not even without, that's without mud or rain That's literally just from the sheer lack of punch they have because they're out of supply. We have one other combat, which is here. The Russians have got a defense of 2. Let me just double check that actually, because the Russian supply line is 6 from a railhead. So we've got railhead here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of supply from there. That is still under Russian control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they're in supply. So it's, I mean, I could mark that. That might be useful to mark. Can't take supply from that hex because it's under German control, but that's there. Hasn't been through, a German unit hasn't been through the hex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, this rail line here goes all the way up to, well, effectively there because there's a Soviet Union in it. So to there. So from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're just in supply. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So they're worth 2. And we're attacking with, effectively, each one of these is an odd zero. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's an 8 to 1 attack. Thank you for that bonus. 8 to 1. Oh, that's not good. 8 to 1 with a 1. That's an exchange. Russians will take an exchange every day of the week. Though in pure unit terms, rather than combat power, that's 2 Soviet units down to 1 German unit. Now, is it worth doing that? That would be, no, it's just not worth it. So that pretty much is the German combat phase. Now the mechanized movement phase. Well, there's no combat at the end of the mechanized movement phase, so what can they engage? And remember, they've still got to pay 3 movement points to go through a zone of control, enter a zone of control. So ideally, if they can get up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that costs too much. 1. Now they can engage, they can move to that unit, but that's about it. So effectively they're pinning. One, 2. The continuous front is supported by the infantry. Everything out here, it's almost like a self-contained blob of armour, for want of a better word. So they can go 1, 2. They can't enter any of those hexes. So the second line has proved effective. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3. We just want to move adjacent to encourage the engagement. I think that's it. It's going to get worse from there. Dear oh dear. Okay. That's the end of the German turn. On to the Russians. Well, the Russians are getting some reinforcements. They are getting, well, it's not a lot though. It's not massive. It's 1 infantry division and 2 armoured brigades. I mean, I suppose it's 3 counters. So, yay. So they could be brought on by rail. Now, the thing is about the continuous front, the Russians already have a continuous front. It hasn't been broken this time. Or has it? Okay, so there is a slight gap in this sector, but that's easy to repair. So it's now a case of just strengthening the front line. We know. So as Stavka, using my Soviet head now, the easiest word to say is "niet." The Germans ain't going to go any further towards Moscow. So what would the Germans do? They can see that, you know, anything behind this river line, there's going to be a -2 on the dice as well, and the Germans don't have enough odds. So I think the drive on Moscow, from Stavka's point of view, is no longer going to be a problem. But we do need to maintain and build a front line. So that's what we will do, and that's what the focus of the turn for the Soviets will be. Is just to build that front line in and around here as best as possible, and to keep this as strong as possible. But I mean, the Germans can come down here, but that's not going to do anything. So remember, with these EB units, we can withdraw them. So let's do that. They can be removed from the map from anywhere. We'll keep them down here. They're out of the way. Let's put them back at Moscow for the moment. To move out of a zone of control costs 2 additional movement points. So that's 3 to there. Can't afford to enter. So 4 to there. Now, you can always move 1 hex, so those guys will enter there. Train hasn't moved yet. Those 2 guys will move into there. So we're trying to stiffen up this line here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keep the continuous front going. I say these rail units, as I've said multiple times, I view them as militia. Okay, so we can bring the new unit by rail, and we can plonk him straight away in that hex there. And we'll actually give him an armoured unit as well. Stick him there. We haven't moved the train yet. So that's 2 train units moved, or 2 units by train. Now I've created, let me just move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Back here, these units to move by train. And we want to get them into this hex, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to there, which is fine. Because it costs 2 movement points to end train, 1 movement point to move 30 by train, and then 1 to detrain. So that's as good as it gets there. And we'll give them an EB unit. Let's put 3 in that hex there. So we've got 3. Right, we can disengage for 2 movement points. So that will be from there to there is 3. So we're trying to create a 3 what you call it 3 units per hex. Well, it's going to be a bit tricky here because they're off the rail. Yeah, it's two. Let me just double check that. Okay, it's not 2 movement points to entrain. It's half your movement value. So if you've got 4, that's where the 2 movement points. Because look at moving this new armoured unit by train, but it's got a movement value of 10, but it's half, so it loses 5 of its movement points to detrain. 2.5 movement points will be lost to, sorry, 5 movement points to end train. But they come in train, so you don't have to spend that. So we've still got, right, okay, so we can move this guy to where? We move him to, remember it's 3 movement points too. So he could move there at so far only 1 movement point expended. Or there for 1 movement point expended. That's the rail cost to get there. Then to detrain will be another 2.5 because it's got to be a quarter of their movement. So that'll take him to 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6, 7, 8.5. He can get in there. And that'll be a third because he enters in trained already. Okay. I'm going to move this last entrained unit down to here. So at least we've got 2 units per hex. And then we want to get someone in there. So we still have this unit back here. We can entrain all the way into there. And that is another train from Moscow. Okay. So we've got a buttress here for the main drive if the Germans decide to continue. Remembering the green disc here is their maximum supply at present. So any drive beyond here will be at half. And we just saw what happened. So probably as the Wehrmacht, do we go back? Maximising casualties without maximising the drive on Moscow. But that's worth 50 victory points at the end of the this scenario. It's a lot. Right, let's pull. Do we want to pull these back? They're pinning the armour. So, no. No, we don't. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or do we want to go? Yeah, let's go 1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2. We've got a reasonable front line there from Stavka's point of view. Now we've got to pull back here a little bit. So let's, there we go. Move the right. Okay, yeah, we need to see how. So remember to disengage is 2 to leave us in control, so that's 3, 4. So that's the best they're going to do there. That's probably, well, we've got these guys here, so what we're going to do we want to weaken the front line? We've got some units here, 1, 2, yeah. I think we're going to continue the front line along here. We've just seen how far they can get back, which isn't very far. So we build that there with 2 units. That can't go for its under control, it's under control. They might as well just go back 1 to there. That's not necessary at the present moment. What about the rest there? Do we need to thin that down anymore? I don't think we do. Let's hold the line up to this point. I don't see any need to strip any more units. That line's holding quite well, because there's no way the Germans can mount an attack on it. They just don't have the teeth to do so. Got 2 units in reserve here. Let's make that a double. And 1, 2, 3 to there. We've got that's the first time we haven't actually used all the rail movement. So we have 1 EB unit left in reserve. We don't have a reserve now as the Soviets. We're using everything to buttress the drive on Moscow, and so there's no point reinforcing the southern area here because the Germans are going nowhere. So this is where basically the offensive either breaks through or holds. Remembering that any attack here by the Germans will be at half strength, and especially attacking across this river, they'll be at -2 on the die roll as well. That ain't good. So we've got 1 EB unit that's not been utilised. So we might as well move him into there along the rail. There we go. Okay, well that's the Soviet movement phase. Combat phase? None. They're not attacking, they're not here to attack. Oh, one thing I did forget for the Germans though was these disrupted units get turned over, because they will be able to move in turn 5. Okay, let's bring that back to me. Okay, I'll just count up the losses, and so far it's 74 victory points for the Germans, 27 to the Soviets, which is 2.74 to 1, which is still the Soviet marginal victory, and that's not taking Moscow into the equation. Now when I read these victory conditions, they've written them irrelevant of the actual scenario, because there are 24 different scenarios in this, and the victory conditions are written in such a way that it implies that they are for every scenario. There's none. So in the 1 to 8 turns that we're playing in this scenario, the 50 victory points for Germans taking Moscow applies, and the 50 victory points additionally for either player for holding Moscow applies, even though the likelihood of the Germans even getting there is, well, as we've just seen, nearly none. I suppose they've still got to drive for it, but yeah, I can understand the 50 victory points at the end of 31 turns, maybe, but there's no breakdown for that Moscow points for the scenarios. So it looks like it's very well. I can't see the Germans winning this at all. But this is a historical scenario. Maybe with some additional reinforcements and push and punch in these first 4 turns, because that was as good as it gets. It's not going to get any better. The rain's going to hit, and then the mud. The rain affects just the Germans. Yeah, Russians don't mind getting wet by the looks of it. So effects on German units. Game turn 5, rain. Movement allowance cut in half. And we know that's cumulative. Movement is cut in half. So those panzers will be half for being out of supply and half again for moving the rain. They can always move 1 hex. And that's pretty much what it looks like they're going to be doing. Combat strength cut in half when attacking. So again, the teeth are being pulled. Out of supply and the rain, they're half, but it won't be half, double the half, because combat is not affected or is not cumulative. And when the mud comes in, again for the Germans, movement allowance reduced to 1 hex per movement phase, regardless of normal terrain and movement costs. Combat strength cut in half when attacking and when defending. Again, if they're out of supply, that will make no difference. It won't compound the problem. Effects on Soviet units, they're not affected by the rain at all. In game turns 6 through 15, which is the mud, movement allowance cut in half. So their combat strength is not affected by the mud. Hence why I said that this was as good as it gets for the Germans. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. I've enjoyed playing it. I will be continuing. Obviously, there's still 4 more turns to go. It's not disappointing. I mean, I know this is a game from 1972, but it's got everything you need. You've got, again, this is I'm going to say this was the game that got me into wargaming. So it's got everything that you want in it to get people to understand hex and counter gaming. You have movement, you have exploitation, you have combat results, you have overruns. You've got an interesting situation. What more could you ask for in a game? Yes, modern mechanics are better or improved. Graphics are better or improved. But overall, we're talking about a game 72, so this is now 51 years old. It's great. I'm enjoying it. And that's the main thing, isn't it? I'm enjoying it. And as I said, I hope you guys enjoying me playing through this. So until next time, remember, play games, have fun. We are in the festive season, so get games to the table, relaxing in this. Well, it's cold in Britain, probably somewhere else it's not, but yeah, play games, have fun. Until next time. Bye, Internet.